a little script here, which includes that we are being recorded. Good evening, I'm Roger Blood, Chair of the Housing Advisory Board. Before we begin, I'll confirm that all HAB members are here. I see you on the screen, so I won't do the roll call anymore. And I've confirmed that you can hear me. During the meeting, all speakers should identify themselves by name prior to speaking. This meeting of the Housing Advisory Board is an open session conducted remotely in a manner consistent with state law. Adequate public access does not require the inclusion of public participation unless such participation is required. This meeting may, depending upon time, allow for public comment. For this meeting, the HAB is convening via Zoom, as posted on the town's calendar. Members of the public that are not speaking are not required to identify themselves and have the option of attending anonymously by phone, as posted on this meeting's agenda. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording, including your video if you have it turned on. If you do not feel comfortable sharing your video, you are not required to do so in order to participate in the meeting. While anybody is welcome to make their own recording of this public meeting, we ask that you first let the chair know that you're doing so. All materials provided to members of this body are available on the town's website as links in this meeting's agenda, and our meeting will follow the agenda unless I note otherwise. Welcome to members of the public. I see that we have, I think, one or maybe more attending. Let me see what else I've got here. Any votes taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote, and I know we're anticipating a couple. So we'll now turn to the first item on the agenda. As you all know, we're starting 30 minutes earlier than our normal start time in order that we can hear a warrant article presentation and have a public hearing and hopefully take a vote, and that our guests can then proceed to, I believe, a second public hearing this evening at the advisory subcommittee. At this time, unless I hear any other concerns, I will call a public hearing to begin and welcome our presenters for warrant article 7, Jeffrey Allen, attorney for the owner, and Anthony Rossi, the owner. And is there anybody else that you all have attending tonight?
No.
So let me welcome you, and to begin the public hearing, you're on for your presentation.
I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible and then open to questions, but I think you all know that the building is at 2 Clock Road that brings us here, warrant article 7. The old, I'm going to say preschool, K through 3 Maimonides building that and that was later used for BEEP, the Brookline Early Education Program, under a lease with Maimonides, and was purchased approximately 10 months ago by Mr. Rossi, who is a Brookline resident and likes to do adaptive reuse. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're taking the building, making a few changes on the roof, which I'll get to, but basically not making any changes to the shell of the building or the surrounding areas. We expect the circulation, the landscaping all to remain basically the same in the same areas. Certainly when we finish construction, we will update the landscaping and the like, but the circulation and the open space will remain unchanged. We intend to put on the roof bedrooms. The upper units will have their bedrooms on a new structure on the roof, which will be somewhere a height increase of about 8 feet. We're estimating right now, we're working with the building commissioner and our architects and our staff to calculate height under the very simple and understandable zoning bylaw. I say that facetiously as our architect has been pulling his hair out. And Dan's been out of town, so we've been dealing with it by email. But these additions to the roof, the only additions, the bedrooms on the roof, they will be set back from the front of the building by 12 feet, the rear of the building by 10 feet, and they'll have outdoor decks off the bedrooms. We purposely put the bedrooms on the top, on the roof, so they wouldn't be entertaining areas and disturb the neighbors. But we wanted to, it's a pretty nice view. We wanted them to be able to enjoy the view. There'll be 35 units in this building. We're committed and we have from the get-go to do on-site units. I think the calculation comes out to 5, but there's a lot of variables that we intend to work with Emily and the HAB to work out the specifics of the on-site units after the zoning is passed, because who knows what's going to happen in the zoning. I think most of you have seen the plans. Steve will probably see the plans about 4 times before we get a vote on it between the planning department and HAB and otherwise. The one change that is not reflected on the plan, the chairman of the subcommittee for the advisory committee suggested that the bedrooms that's on the roof be somewhat set back from Route 9, not flush with the current wall. And there's a lot of architects in the process. So we've done that. We're setting them back, I think, about 4 feet. Just the 2 bedrooms that are on the Route 9 side of the building so that they're not flush with the existing wall. I must say, as the chair noted, I've been around a few years in town. I got to tell you, I never have been to a more enthusiastic neighborhood meeting than we had over on this one. To say the neighborhood wasn't thrilled with the use of the building as a school, given drop-off, pickup, staff parking, and the like, and they welcome a residential use of the building. Of all the potential uses of the building, we think that this is the least intrusive to the neighborhood. We were suggesting a zoning of 1.0 in FAR and also 1 parking space per unit. It's in a transportation district. It's in a transportation district, and tentatively reserving his rights, the moderator has ruled it's a housing warrant article and will need a majority to pass. And we're starting to get, I'm not used to this, broad-based support within the community at large. I note that Brookline for Everyone has come out with a flyer urging people to vote for this warrant article. It really is a win-win. We're taking a building that never paid a penny in taxes. We're putting it back on the tax roll. We're doing on-site affordables. It's going to be rentals. It's going to be reasonably priced rentals. It's not a high-end luxury rental. It's a you know, the units are going to be somewhere between 800 and 1,200 square feet. So we think it's a great project for Brookline. It's properly placed right on Route 9. And we really think it's one of those rare instances where it's a win-win, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
You're muted, Roger.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me I was muted and you missed the whole thing.
I was just checking with Bernard. I think he's going to join us. Did Anthony want to add anything to what you've
We
said?
keep losing Anthony. I don't know where he is. Wait a minute. Bernard's in the waiting room. We can't keep him. Anthony's talking. Anthony, you there?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay, good. Well, thanks, Jeffrey. That's a good concise summary of what you plan to do there. Nice to know that there'll be some on-site affordables and that and as much that your other units are not super luxury and, reasonably sized for affordability as well. Have member comments or questions?
Yeah, I do have a few,
Steve?
Roger.
Oh, sorry.
So Jeffrey, I haven't seen this at all.
Oh.
And so I do have a few questions. I'm also, I know the planning board is going to be holding a hearing on this later this month. I'm not going to be there, so I'll have to get my questions in now. Is there going to be an additional building on the empty lot that fronts Philbrick? I mean, I haven't seen any plans. I guess you have an architect. I guess you have some plans.
yeah, we have a pretty good set of plans. I'm sorry, I thought, but let me talk about that. And you're right. There's a lot behind us on Philbrick, which we ultimately down the road will subdivide off from this lot. And the zoning allows for that. And it will be a 10,000 square foot lot. I say ultimately because we're going to use, one of the things we want to do is use that lot for construction staging during construction, so to lessen the impact on the neighborhood. And then after this building is done, we will then do an A&R, subdivide that 10,000 square foot lot. And we're looking at doing four townhouses or 2 duplexes, but 4 units. It's possible that that number may shrink.
I see. So you mentioned an FAR of 1. I'm looking at the zoning, the details of the zoning in Article 7. I don't actually see an FAR listed in the zoning metrics.
I'd have to go back. It is.
Um, and I guess I might have some other questions, but those are, and are these zoning details, are these, I know this is likened to the multifamily overlay district that was created to respond to the MBTA law. And there are a lot of details in the zoning. Are they similar to or kind of adapted from the multifamily zoning that the town?
Only in the broadest sense. We worked hand in hand with the planning department in drafting the warrant article. Both Polly, Maria, everybody, Polly, Maria, and Kara were very, very helpful and supportive. In the end, the final version was crafted by Maria from our draft. She then crafted the final draft.
Well, I don't have any more questions at the moment, but I would appreciate if someone can send me, whatever the preliminary plans are, just for my own interest.
You'll have them probably. I think I have your email. I'll email them to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan?
Thank you. I have a couple questions really for Mr. Rossi. I'd really appreciate it if you would introduce yourself a little bit more in terms of your background and experience as a developer, other similar projects that you've done that are comparable to this one. And also talk a little bit. I know Jeffrey seemed to think that, said that it was a very positive meeting with the community, but if you could talk about the community outreach you've done so far and the work you've done with the neighbors and what the reaction has been to your proposals, I'd be interested in hearing both of those things.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure everybody can hear me.
So
We
far,
can
so
hear you.
good.
Okay, perfect. Again, everybody, my name is Anthony Rossi. By way of background, I'm an attorney and I'm also a developer. I've been living in Brookline on Heath Street for I think about 6 years with my wife and my kids. As a developer, I've won awards for the past, I think, 3 straight years in converting buildings in Worcester around Polo Park, repurposing them and keeping the historic nature of the brick buildings and converting them to luxury residential, mostly work workforce housing type of units. And I don't just do Worcester, I do Boston. I redeveloped the old Liberty Tree Registry building in downtown, 630 Washington Street in Boston. I'm just giving examples of brick restorations. I've converted schools in Haverhill, and that was a school that was 17 units. I just finished the old Table Talk Pie building, which I converted that, and it was a historic building, and I did 54 units. A lot of the stuff I do was historic renovations. In fact, where I live in Brookline, I owned the Payne Estate, which is, I think, the oldest home in Brookline, Chestnut Hill. It's on Wikipedia, and we restored that to its nature. So I'd like to take existing buildings and convert them to, high end, when I say high end, high quality housing, but affordable housing. That's a big thing for me. So that's why I focus in communities around commuter rails, bus stops, MBTA, transportation, to get those type of people that need nice affordable housing, which this project will give 5 more affordable units to the Brookline community. As far as neighborhood outreach, we did have a neighborhood meeting. I want to say it was probably about maybe 5 or 6 months, if not longer. We had a good neighborhood support. I can't speak for the neighborhood, but I thought it went really well. I heard a lot of their input, and it was, and we sort of built a design based on what neighbors wanted to see. Um, and they really wanted to see the existing building not going down and work off that existing building, and which is what I do anyways. The additional units on top, we set it back. When I say additional units, those are duplex units. So basically, you're going to have a living room on one floor and a kitchen, and then up top, a stairwell going to just basically a bedroom with a deck. And we set them back from the parapet wall, even though the building is sort of recessed back from the street, to not create a hindrance for the neighborhood and have, decks with living rooms up there and so forth. So we were conscientious of this because that's what I would do if I lived in the neighborhood. I want to make sure something worked. I gave everybody in that neighborhood meeting my cell phone number that wanted it. If they had any issues, they called me. Um, the plans have not been altered since then. If anything, we may have shrunk some of the duplexes as far as on the Route 9 side, based on comments that Jeff had with subcommittees on stepping away from Route 9, the structure itself. We intend to do heavy landscaping and open green space on the existing structure that's there now. We haven't gone to that point, of course. So, and these are predominantly 1-bedroom units, not, 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, just to have more units. I find that the more units we have, the more affordable units based on the percentages. And I think you can basically cater to more people that since post-COVID want to be by themselves. So we designed it in a manner that was consistent. That's what I do throughout the state. So developer-wise, I currently have it that I'm building right now. I'm building 136 unit in Everett near the Chelsea stop. I just finished a 57 unit on downtown Boston near Downtown Crossing. All existing structures, similar to what this is. I don't really do a lot of ground up. I do repurposing. So this is pretty much in my wheelbarrow. And I want to do something in Brookline because I live in Brookline. So that was a big thing for me. And that's why I wanted the school. And I thought it'd be something that's good for the community. And I'm there when the neighbors call me, somebody puts graffiti on the sidewalk or on the bus stop, we send guys in the next day. If there's trash around, we send the next day. So I try to be that neighbor, and I live right around the corner, so it's not a big hassle to do that. That's by way of background, and I can answer any other questions you want.
I just noticed also that I didn't mention, we're having a second neighborhood meeting, which we doubled the size. We expanded the invitees on October 22nd. And I also, the 1-bedrooms, which are average in size of 850 square feet, and the few 2-bedrooms we have average around 1,200 square feet. 35 units. We're maintaining the existing garage and everything.
So I've seen other things that have said 30
And
units. Is it 33 or 35?
35.
35, okay.
And the inclusionary units on the state law would be spread out equally based on the mixture of the units that we have and not on one floor. So, I mean, even the higher end units, it's going to benefit by doing these duplexes to the include format. So
Do you have a website, Anthony?
I don't.
Yeah.
I hate
Okay.
to say it, but I'm not a social media person. I
Okay, no, that's fine.
don't have. But
It just sound like very interesting buildings that you. Any other member questions? Carol?
If there's somebody else who wants to go first, that's fine. I didn't mean to jump ahead. Okay, so thank you for working on this. This looks like a really great project, actually. I wanted to ask you if you could help at least me with some education about how you're addressing the stretch code in renovating a building like this. How are you approaching that in terms of the basically building systems and also the building envelope?
Yeah, that's pretty simple. Well, the strict energy code has recently changed again. I'm not sure if you're aware of it in the last few months. So I'm building, first of all, I don't do gas in any of my buildings. So if you can Google development, Worcester, you can read all the articles of buildings we do. I haven't done a gas building in probably 10 years. Everything I do is electric. I don't do any gas. Even the 133 unit I'm doing now in Everett, all electric. So this building would be all electric heat, mini splits, probably cassettes in each unit. Electric stove, electric water heater. Everything I do is electric, which brings your stretch energy code classification down when you have a gas building. The brick is porous, so even though it's probably built better than I could ever build it today, because they do the 3 or 4 course brick. What I do, I actually had to do 2 buildings that were part of the higher stretch energy code that was in effect a year ago. So we actually had to fur out the inside walls basically 8 inches because you couldn't do the R23 insulation on the 32 on the outside wall because it didn't work. So you fur them out and then you put, on the outside walls we did spray foam, open cell, and then on the roof you had to do R69, which that's the easiest part to do. It just you do some closed cell and some open cell. I don't. I sometimes sure you have them can be so tight. So when you do too much spray foam, you got to have these vapor barriers because if you don't, you're building mold on it. So we have a system in place that I have a HERS rated that gets us involved as far as the windows, as far as the insulation, and so forth. So that's simple. The harder part is more dealing with if the windows become compliant or not. If the windows don't come compliant, then you have to comply with the new windows. But they actually reduced the stretch energy code back down to R49 on the roof and R20 on the outside walls recently because I think they got a lot of pushback in the state because a lot of these buildings, when you're converting them, especially with office buildings, which I've done a lot of conversions with offices in downtown Boston, they can't make them work efficiently when they want to have the brick exposed or what have not. This is not one of those buildings that we're exposing the brick. It's on the inside. It's already a framed wall. I think it's not that difficult to meet even last year's stretch energy code, especially with all electric, but I don't do gas. So that makes the readings come down considerably. I haven't done gas building. I told you over 10 years now. So the compliance is really going to be more difficult of making sure we don't create a mold environment because of the moisture and the vapor barriers that are being installed and so forth.
Other member comments or questions?
I just wanted to follow up. I did notice, I didn't see an FAR in the zoning, but I did see that there is both a maximum lot size for each lot and then a maximum gross floor area, which matches the lot size, which in effect means the floor area ratio is 1. So the zoning takes care of it that way. So I answered my own question.
Let me, since this is a public hearing, we've had a good, I think, comprehensive presentation, at least for purposes of our affordable housing mission. And I will open this up to, if there are members of the public in attendance that would like to speak with questions or comments, please raise your hand and we'll recognize you. Linda Pelkey.
Hello.
Hello.
You are joining me in my kitchen. I'm trying to prepare my dinner because I have a meeting at 6. So apologies for all that. But hello.
Gas or electric?
Yep, I'm Linda Olson Pelkey. I am a town meeting member from precinct 17, but I'm tuning into your meeting just to maybe request that you not vote this exact version today, because there are some things in the zoning that we feel need to be amended and tightened up. So we're anticipating there being some changes. So, it's up to you, but I just want to let you know that. As far as using the multifamily overlay district, which I'm glad Steve picked up on that, that is partially true in a very limited way. And that's for this CMR2 zone. And it's not true really at all for the adaptive reuse. And in terms of like tightening things up, we just want to make sure that what is on the plans is actually translated into the zoning accurately. And also that some of the sort of glaring loopholes are closed. And for instance, there's nothing in the zoning that necessarily assures us that the building is not going to be torn down. I know we are hearing the intention of the owner that that's not what they want to do, but it just needs to be stated clearly. And we're also thinking of asking them to go through special permit, because right now they're asking for site plan review, but all of the design standards and things that are in the multifamily zoning are not in this. So we really don't have the same by right standards that we had hoped to have to, by right approved buildings. So that's another topic that we'll be discussing at 6. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you.
Linda, just to acknowledge a couple of
Yes.
things. Given the HAB's mission, which is more focused and a bit narrower than the advisory committee or certainly the planning board,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that we would be the ones to postpone a vote if it's appealing to the HAB for meeting the affordable housing goals. And our next meeting is coincidental with the deadline for the submission of the combined reports.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how HAB members feel, but that's my first kind of reaction to what you're asking.
Okay, and no one has seen any drawings of the townhomes. That doesn't exist. And that is a piece of the zoning that's, not very nailed down, put it that way. So, how you feel about we support this with those caveats, clearly that's up to you guys to decide, but.
Yeah, we'll have that as part of our discussion.
Mhm.
Thank you, Linda.
Sure.
David Porter.
Sure, when you have a chance.
Jeffrey, go ahead. That's
Okay.
not for me to say, but sorry, that's not for me to say, but I don't mind letting Jeffrey go ahead of me.
No, please, Jeffrey.
I think in response to Ms. Pelkey's comment, there's a very big difference to the adaptive reuse and the 10,000 square foot lot in terms of design standards and so forth. The adaptive reuse, there really is no need for design standards because we're not tearing anything down, not changing the design of the building. We don't have a problem with design standards for that 10,000 square foot lot. What I do say is we have no problems with anything that is done by any committee. Any committee, I don't know how to ignore this thing. Any committee to hold us to what we're saying. Yeah, we're not going to tear the building down. The units the affordable are going to be on site and so forth. As far as the townhomes, we're a long way away from designing those. And so at the appropriate time, we can go to the planning board or whoever wants to go over the design. That's not a major issue. But the adaptive reuse, we want to get this building online as soon as possible. We're hoping that it really, I know this has been a big issue of Bernard's, generating some workforce housing in the town. We're hoping that given the location, maybe we'll get some school teachers from the high school or Pierce or any of those schools to move into this building. Maybe a police officer or a firefighter. We would love that, and that's why we want to get it online as soon as possible.
Thank you. Dave Porter.
Hi, Dave Porter,
And
town meeting
Jeffrey, I
member,
want to add,
please.
Okay, go on.
Anthony, you want or Dave Porter? Okay.
Dave Porter, go ahead.
Sure thing. So Dave Porter, town meeting member, precinct 6, and a butter, that is the building in question behind me. We are, Jeffrey characterized the neighborhood meeting as, I think he overstated our enthusiasm a little bit, but he's on the right path. Being honest, it's I think there's broad recognition in the neighborhood that that this sort of what we're looking at is probably the best case scenario, is nice in several ways, and is probably the best case scenario for us as a neighborhood. Are the concerns that we kind of came in with were, I would say, predominantly traffic and construction chaos. I'm certainly satisfied, and I think in general the neighborhood, the folks in the neighborhood that I've spoken to are satisfied that that's all. This is sort of our best case scenario on those fronts. As far as what this group is in charge of speaking to, I'm personally very happy with the small size of the units. The affordability sort of aspect is fantastic, and I also hope that we end up with some folks that work at the schools can live here and walk to school, walk to their jobs. I think that's great. And it contributes, I think, to a lower. I'm convinced that it contributes to a lower traffic burden as well. So we'll have plenty to say. I'll be at the meeting in half an hour as well with the advisory committee, talking about some details. But as far as affordability and as far as the adaptive reuse of this space goes, this feels great to me. The folks in the neighborhood with whom I've kept in touch about it feels great. Feels sort of best case, I think, to everyone.
Maybe I overstated it because I have a career of getting beaten up in the neighborhood meetings.
So if we're not beating up on you, then it's ebullience. Yeah, no, yeah. I think you're right. I think it feels like what you're describing, and we want to make sure that that's what happens. But what you're describing certainly seems like best case outcome for the neighborhood, for this building.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. And Ben Spivak.
Thank you. My name is Ben Spivak. I live on Lancaster Terrace, and I wanted to come out tonight and speak in support of Warrant Article 7. My wife and I moved to Brookline 3 years ago so that she could attend grad school, and we just love living here. And one day we dream of owning a home. I'm working right now as a full-time data analyst and a part-time EMT. My wife is a therapist and a part-time researcher. So we're hustling, but given the housing affordability crisis, we know that there are decisions like this that may ultimately influence, the outcome that we have. I think we all know that the increasing housing stock puts a downward pressure on prices, and that would give us an opportunity to buy a home here. And of course, in addition to that, it offers benefits, I believe, to the town as well. As Mr. Allen mentioned, the proposal would increase tax revenue. It would also bring 35 new regulars to the shops and restaurants around Brookline Village. And given the sort of drying up of federal funding and an uncertain state budget, I see that as a way to bolster our fiscal sustainability. In addition, and I believe this is something Mr. Allen mentioned as well, this would also bring 35 new citizens to the town. And I mean that citizens as in neighbors who swim at the aquatic center like me, who support our schools and seniors, or who boost turnout at Brookline Day. So I think it can do all of that while simultaneously advancing the town's goals for things like sustainability and a diverse housing stock. So just to reiterate that the individual decisions like this are the bricks that cumulatively form the bedrock of housing affordability in Brookline. So I strongly support warrant Article 7, and I urge you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much. Are there other members of the public that wish to comment? And then we'll come back to Steve. I want to make sure we conclude public members first. I don't see anybody else. Steve, and then Alex, if you have a comment as well.
Thanks again, Roger. I see that Linda Olson-Pelkey, I guess, has left this meeting to get ready for the advisory committee, but I do think she made a good point when she raised the issue that the advisory committee seems to be leaning towards suggesting that the zoning be changed to require a special permit for at least the first phase of the project. And with my planning board hat on, I would say that notwithstanding the fact that this is an adaptive use of an existing building, it's a pretty large project, and our normal special permit requirements would be that any project of 4 or more units should be subject to special permit review. And so I think, first of all, I would support this, and I think the HAB could support this because in its broad elements, this zoning change is entirely appropriate in the big picture of the housing it will create and the affordable housing it will create and the, again, I think good point, limited size of the proposed units, all of which is good. I think there's some details. I know the advisory committee will burrow into them ad infinitum. But, you know, I guess my bottom line is I think we could vote to support this, but note that there may be, you know, we would acknowledge that there may be some detailed technical changes to this in its final form. And I would actually, I don't know what the planning board's going to say. I won't be there, but I think the planning board would support the notion of requiring a special permit for the school conversion. And I think even for the other site, which will be also 4 units, typically would require a special permit. There wouldn't be any great hurry on getting the zoning in place for that because it's going to be used, as Mr. Allen said, for staging for the first phase of construction. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Alex, I think you're next. Alex? Just a reminder. So we're going to have discussion and a vote after we close the public hearing. So you're welcome to speak, but this is still part of the public hearing. Not that it matters that much, but go ahead.
It's Alex, HAB member. I just want to contribute to the public hearing that in our agenda packet, there were 4 emails from residents of the town that were in support of the warrant article. So to include that.
Thanks for the reminder. I think Emily had shared at least one of them, and I think as we know they're there. That adds to the discussion. I don't think we have to read the details in them, but anyway, thanks for the reminder, Alex. Jonathan.
Well, I was going to say the same thing that Alex said, except I think there are 5. So we have five letters in support, and I'm glad that's in the public record. That's all I need to say.
Does any of the HAB members want to have those recited by the names of the people that submitted them, or do you feel it's sufficient just to know that they're there? We're okay. We're okay as is. Okay, thanks. Well, at this point, then let me announce the closing of our public hearing, the opening or the continuation, I guess I would say, of HAB member discussion. And for that purpose, especially given the thrust of what we've heard so far, I will offer a motion for the HAB to express its support for this project as proposed, and with an emphasis on the fact that it's generating deed restricted affordable units and other aspects of affordability for the unit sizes in general. That will be my motion. I haven't written out a report yet, but I guess we can proceed on the basis that I would write a brief report based on the HAB's vote and have Emily provide that to HAB members before it would go in the combined reports. So if there's a second to that, then we'll have a discussion and a vote.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any other HAB member discussion? Jonathan?
Well, I'll add that I'm strongly supportive of this, which will not surprise anyone. I want to thank and appreciate, I don't know if he's still here, Ben's comments. I'm not going to say very much more because I thought he stated so eloquently all the reasons why this is a terrific project for Brookline, for housing in general, for housing affordability, in particular, and for the, my objective of being able to make this an affordable, thriving, and engaged community with housing at many different types at many different price points. So I think it's a great project. I hope it goes forward. I will note that I may have a slight disagreement with my friend Steve that does not need to be resolved here, but I'd love to see us be able to approve more housing by right instead of by special permitting processes. So to the extent the zoning can allow housing by right, that strikes me as a more direct path to getting housing built sooner, and sooner is better than later. But I don't think that needs to be part of our debate or decision-making as the HAB. I think that will be in the hands of the planning board and the advisory committee.
I was thinking somewhat the same thing. I don't disagree with your point, Jonathan, but you don't feel like that would need to be a part of our write-up for town meeting?
No.
Okay. Okay. Any other HAB member comments? Then we'll take a vote, and I'll do that by roll call. Well, order on the screen. Bill Fagan, our newest member, why don't you vote first?
Vote yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Let me see, Sean?
Yes.
And Bernard?
Okay, so this is not a recommendation to the select board, so I am able to vote yes.
Ah, we're thrilled. It's good to have unanimity, and I think we've got 7 out of our 10 members, or 8 perhaps, attending. So very good.
Are you voting, Roger?
The chair votes yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Unanimous. Very good. Thank you all, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Nice to see you
Anthony,
again.
Thank you, everyone.
and everybody else who participated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Bye. Thanks.
And Anthony.
You do me a favor later?
Sean,
Yes.
what were you saying?
I'm sorry. Nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay, then the public hearing is closed. We've voted, and we'll move on to our next agenda item. And usually we do our minutes first. We've got a couple of meetings that we can vote on, but I'd first like to introduce Bill Fagan. As I sort of mentioned quickly before the meeting, I've lived here in Brookline 50 years, and Bill has me by 1 year himself, and by family even longer than that. Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome to the Housing Advisory Board.
Thank you. Just a little bit, excuse me, briefly about myself. I'm essentially a lifelong resident here in Brookline. Went to Lincoln Elementary, graduated Brookline High School, and what I'm hoping is to bring to the HAB is an effort to share my strengths in software skills, research skills, data, comprising information, gathering, what I can to contribute and assist on issues that come before the board. I'm currently working at Northeastern in the School of Law, and I'm a faculty coordinator. I bring a lot of organizational experience, and I know, listening on some of the comments and some of the issues regarding this project, I have some work to do in terms of zoning and things like that, but just happy to be here and happy to contribute.
Thank you, Bill. Bill and I had a chance to have a relaxing, enjoyable lunch last week, and I can share that Bill really knows the town currently, historically, and is already familiar with many, if not most, of the affordable housing properties that the HAB has been involved in over the years. So welcome again, Bill, and we will look forward to your participation.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda are the meeting minutes, and I think we've got Emily, you have your hand raised.
Clapping.
No, I was
Oh.
clapping for Bill.
Oh,
Welcome.
okay.
Never seen that
So,
before.
let's see, we'll take these one at a time. The first meeting, was July the 30th. And you all have seen the minutes. I've had the opportunity ahead of time as well to go through them with Emily. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of July 30th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Steve.
Second, Alex.
Alex? Okay, good. All those in favor? Bill, you weren't here, so I'm going to skip you. Alex?
Yes,
Jonathan?
you're muted.
Yes, yes, sorry.
Yeah, fine. Steve?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Sean? I'll come back to Sean Bernard.
Yes.
Hi,
Sean? Sean?
yes.
Okay, good. The minutes of the July 30th meeting are approved, and now the September 3rd meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved. Steve.
Steve moved. Is there a second?
Second,
Alex
Alex.
seconds. All those in favor of approving the September 3rd meeting minutes? Alex?
Yes,
Jonathan?
I was not there, so I will abstain.
Okay. Steve?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Sean? I'll come back to Sean Bernard
Yes.
and Sean. Sean, are you there? I see you're muted. Ask to unmute. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. So we've done our meeting minutes. The next item is a continuation, hopefully a conclusion with a vote this evening about a subject that we took up at our last meeting, and that is the recommended investment policy for the Housing Trust. You have your hand raised, Alex?
yeah, Roger, you didn't vote for either of the meeting minutes, did you?
Oh, here I do again. Yep.
No, just
Yep.
put yourself down.
Yep. The chair votes for both.
Yeah, cool.
I have a bad habit about that, so keep me honest. Thank you. We discussed the investment policy at some length at our last meeting with Lincoln Heineman, the town's chief financial officer, and got some apparent consensus sufficient for Bernard to follow up, and with some help from me, but mainly I think Bernard crediting on this one. A draft, which I think you all have seen. Lincoln did offer to come back if we needed him for further discussion this evening, but I told him after hearing that he was fine with what we had done, had approved it. Emily, could you just quickly put that up for us on shared screen, and we can have a final look at it? I'm just going to keep talking briefly. We've got about a little now over 9 million in the housing trust. That's a high. Will not always be that high for sure, but at 1% of 9 million, that would be I believe 90,000 a year, and at 3 to 4%, we would be getting $270,000 to $360,000 a year of relatively risk-free earnings on our encumbered and unencumbered trust fund balance. So by my back of the envelope reckoning, that's as soon as we adopt this, Lincoln said he can make the move quickly to put this in effect. We would be getting something like roughly $20,000 additional per month or close to it with this policy. So I'm not going to read everything here, but we've got it on the screen. Can everybody see the whole thing, or do we need to scroll it down? Is number 3 the end of it there? Yes. Any comments or questions on this? Again, well, let me start this as I did with the prior discussion. I'll make a motion to approve these investment policies for the trust fund going forward. Is there a second for that? And then we can discuss as needed.
I'll second it.
Thank you. That's good. Any discussions or questions on this?
All I can say is I'm sorry nobody thought of this 10 years ago.
Yeah, we would have made a lot of money if a lot of houses could be built.
Think of all the opportunity costs that we've got looking backward, but unfortunately, none of us thought of this side. We were so focused on being proper stewards of the disbursement side, and made some assumptions on this side, I think, that turned out not to be the case. So, any other comments or discussion before I call the vote?
No, I wasn't present for the discussion, but I reviewed the policy. It looks very sensible and thoughtful to me, so it's supportive.
Yeah, and thanks, Jonathan. And we did leave some wiggle room in terms of the ability to have at least some of the funds invested for longer than 6 months, without going what we might call intermediate or very long. Okay, we can take the shared screen down, and I'll call the vote then.
I mean, does everyone understand the policy? I guess I'm a little uncomfortable that you haven't had more discussion or questions.
Yeah, I didn't go through it in detail, but if we want to bring it back up and members want to see it and just give the highlights of it, that's fine.
Maybe we don't need it. I mean,
I think we
It made
talked
sense
about
to
it
me,
at the
especially.
previous meeting.
okay.
Alex?
It made sense to me, especially in the context after our conversation. I think the conversation we had in our previous meeting gave a lot of context to what the document wrote.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I think that unless there's an objection, I'm not going to, in calling the vote, make it a requirement for members having to attend the previous meeting.
No.
Because the proposed policy speaks for itself. So with that preface, I will again start from the top of the screen and ask Bill, what do you think?
I would support it and say yes.
Okay, Alex, I'm going to ask you to vote next, but this time I'm going to remember to vote at the end.
Yes.
Okay, Jonathan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that's a unanimous vote, and we're going to start banking the money probably by next week. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Could we ask Lincoln to sort of just tell us a little bit about where he's going to put the money and what we expect to earn?
We can get that from him. I told him that his attendance tonight at this meeting was not required, but we can certainly get that from him.
I don't mean him coming to the meeting,
Yeah,
but maybe sending an email.
yeah, yep, we can do that.
Yeah.
I'll make a note to Lincoln.
Maybe I'm being a little too concerned about things here. But.
Yeah, I think that my sense is, and he can confirm this, that after we got over the little hurdle that there's two different definitions and concepts of what one means by a money market fund, where some of us were thinking it meant a fund in a Schwab or a Fidelity, and his was a money market fund, meaning investments directly in FDI insured bank deposits. That's I think he's contemplating that to be a major part of where he's planning to invest. And Bernard, thanks for doing what you did in the follow-up, and in particular making note of this being consistent with the town's overall investment policies. So we're confirming that as well. Okay, Emily, the next thing, if I might ask for you to put up on shared screen, is the some of my thoughts for what might appear in the HAB's application for $1 million of CPA non-project specific funds for FY '26. Have members that were here will remember our brief discussion of this a couple of meetings ago. And you all authorized or requested me to proceed with this, and I completed the eligibility phase a little painfully, but got through it. And now this has a deadline. It's within the next 10 days, I believe. So you've had a chance to, I think, look at this. I originally thought there might only be a few bullets, but the more I reflected on it, everything that you see on the screen, I don't know if you can see it all at once or if we need to go down, are at least possible items that we could include as a justification for requesting these funds. Are there any, just let me open for discussion at this point, anything that either you think should be added or not included?
Well, Roger, do you mind if I start? I'm the HAB's representative to the CPA committee.
Yes, maybe I should have started with you, Steve.
So I'll start. I mean, I think one specific thing, I think there are a couple, I mean, there are many points here and I think they're good. The third bullet from the bottom, I would add, there's a specific project that we know is coming, which would be phase 2 of Walnut High, that will be needing probably at least as much money as phase 1. So I think that should be added to this list of, upcoming projects on town-owned sites, or well, at least the BHA's site. That's one thing. Another is that I think it's an important point. I think this point's been made before, but I don't see it here. Housing trust funds are much more flexible and readily available than CPA funds. So any affordable housing project that is seeking funds, with the CPA, it has to go through, months of vetting and review, and it has to go to a town meeting vote, once a year, maybe a second time, fall town meeting. Whereas funds in the Affordable Housing Trust can be made available rather quickly, after review by the HAB and sign off by the select board. So I think that's an important feature of why it's useful to have affordable housing funds available in the Housing Trust. And a third point, and this may be relevant specifically this year, and I'm sort of speaking with knowing what's been going on at the CPA, we expected to see, the CPA has given the Brookline Housing Authority $500,000 in 2 phases over the last 2 funding rounds for roof replacements at the Egmont Street project, which have been combined by the BHA with other funds. We expected to have another $500,000 allocation to them to finish the project in this next round, but they were fortunate to get more state funding, so they don't need any more funds from the CPA. So, and from my perspective, it seems like there's $500,000 that we thought we would be allocating to an affordable housing project, that specific project, that no longer is needed. And I would think that would be good reason to put that, if not more, just turn it over to the Affordable Housing Trust in this particular funding round. I know Roger's point is that there ought to be an ongoing allocation of funds to the AHT, but at least for this, in this first round, when there are no other, as far as I'm aware, major housing fund requests, it would be good to put at least that $500,000, if not $1 million, into the AHT, knowing we have phase 2 of Walnut High, et cetera, coming down the line. So those are my thoughts.
Very, taking notes on all of them, and I will add accordingly, Steve. Great ideas. While other members may be wanting to add or delete from something on here, let me ask Emily. Emily, could you put up on shared screen the other 1-page document that I had sent the most recently with that shows what other communities have done in the Boston area?
Yeah, just give me a second.
And have members, if you have other comments or questions in the meanwhile, have at it, please.
I'm just I have a few comments, but I'm going back on my other screen to look at some of the wording so I can get back to the comment I wanted to make.
Okay. This, we don't, let's see, it didn't line up quite right here, but it's got the content. I did a review of a very rich database that's published online, and I'd encourage other members if you wanted to peruse that sometime. It's absolutely fascinating for every city and town and every single year since the CPA began many years ago. All of their individual allocations for not just housing, but historical preservation and parks and open space. And I extracted here, I think it's all accurate, but it's essentially a summary of that over 40 communities in Greater Boston alone do allocate, the CPA committees allocate housing CPA funds to their municipal housing trusts. And of those, the asterisks, the starred communities on here, which is over half of the total, I think it's 21 or 22, have at some point in their history done annual allocations that were not specifically designated for a defined project ahead of time. So this is a context, and I just wanted to share that with you. We can take that down, Emily, thanks.
So what are you looking for a vote on this, Roger, or is this just informational at this point?
Well, I don't think it needs a formal vote, but I would, but I do have to get this in a very kind of a structured way in the next week to 10 days. So what I do want, I mean, if a member wants to move and make a vote, that'll be fine. But what I do need to know is that that all of the content on here is satisfactory to everybody, including what Steve has suggested for me to write the narrative up, and which we'll share with you, of course, as well. Alex?
I don't have any comments in terms of changing specific content or things to add or delete, but just reading through it, I have thoughts which you can take with whatever weight you want about kind of like tone, and if it were me, how I would navigate. So I know you and Roger, you and Steve have much more experience with this, but even in recent HAB meetings, I think the co-chair David came to one of the meetings, and it was kind of like, it seemed like there was some back and forth. There were some bullets that seemed, I would try and make it a little less confrontational in the language. Like, I think the last one, it was like, it kind of beat around the bush a little bit, but it was like, you've given 0 to us. And I would have phrased it differently.
Yes, yes. That's a point well taken, absolutely.
Yeah, like maybe to date, there hasn't been any contributions to this.
Right.
I like, especially in the confrontational front, because it's kind of there's been a back and forth. I liked Steve's point about the dynamic nature, which I thought was kind of brought up in one of the bullets about how quickly it can be used. But I liked Steve's point as well as like, it means more dynamic, like it's not so rigid in the funding cycle, and it can be used quickly. And like if you put it aside for CPA, it sounds like it's kind of like done and it takes a whole process, but and then if it doesn't get used, it gets wasted. So not wasted, but it gets misappropriated. And it's much more dynamic if you can put it in the housing trust. I'd also try and avoid, in a less confrontational way, the idea of ongoing. And while I think if I were trying to parse that phrase and find agreement with the CPA, I would go at housing is important, and that we both agree that it's important for the community, and therefore there be continued, not because my recollection from when David was present, there was I don't want to call it a quarrel, but they wanted to retain authority over regular decision making. So giving up that authority by ongoing, kind of like committing to ongoing contributions. Yeah. So if you say it's not regular, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm not sure, we could put that back up on the screen quickly if you want. I think you're making a good point. And I'm not sure if I did put, or suggest that we were looking for ongoing commitments. The purpose of this is a one-time, we'd love to have a discussion with the CPA committee, seeking consideration of some kind of an ongoing contribution. But if I put that in here, it's not necessary for this one.
Well, you do quote the housing production plan as recommending it. So
yes, you're right about that.
Adopted town policy.
Yeah, when I saw that, I thought it was a not only a good thing to include in this, but actually I put it right at the top because it's the town's housing policy. That's been voted by the select board. We all understand they don't have any authority over the CPA committee. We've learned that pretty thoroughly recently, but
yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of, the annual allocation. I think that might could rub them the wrong way. Well, it's already anyway.
It's town policy from the housing production plan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there is Alex is right. he's noticed, maybe some a lack of enthusiasm on the part of some members of the CPA committee to do this. You might say, I don't know if the CPA committee as a whole were to vote on this policy, it might actually come out in favor of doing something like this, but it hasn't gotten to that. But I also want to say strategically, I don't know, the next CPA committee meeting is, I believe, on Monday, October 20th. I don't know if Roger has asked to have this discussion between the CPA committee and the HAB. If that happens on the 20th, I am not going to be there. Again, I'm as the HAB representative, I won't be there. It would be good if other members of this committee, if this does get on the agenda, were to be there to support, this request.
Yeah, I think the closing of the deadline for applications is right up prior to that, and I think they will probably be reviewing what they've received, but I doubt very seriously whether that evening will get into the pros and cons of what they are going to accept going down the line. I think that's going to be an extended process. So, and I know you're not going to be there. And after we conclude this discussion, I'm just going to give a quick update on some aspects that Steve, you and I have spoken about in terms of when we're going to re-engage with the CPA committee. Carol.
I have two quick things, and I think this will be a longer conversation, but I also have a question for Steve. Steve, who else is on the subcommittee for housing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, a subcommittee of the CPA that's reviewed housing related proposals,
Right.
That first time that happened was, I think I was before I got on the committee. And so if there was a subcommittee, I wasn't part of that. There might have been Jenny Raitt when she was my predecessor.
Yeah. And I don't know how many there would have been, but at least one of the others would almost certainly be Sue Cohen.
So is the committee basically doing this as a committee of the whole at this point, rather than sending it down to the committee subcommittees?
What we've done, yeah.
Okay. So just my other, I feel like there's a longer conversation about kind of getting some advocacy about this. And I know in other applications where people are working to get letters of support. And so I do think that is actually maybe a now and a timely thing. So I kind of put over here that point. But the other thing is just sustainability. And the number, if you go back to the plan, we did do a CPA plan, and the number one thing that everything is geared towards is sustainability. And the way we're going to make housing sustainable, decarbonize it, is to do the capital investment. And this is just so, whether it's new construction or renovation, I just, Um, I feel like this is just aligning this money to that purpose is also, to me, important. I don't know if strategically that's important or that matters to people, but geez, that's how the only way we can get there, right? So
Carol, I
Right.
think everybody agrees on that and is committed to it, both on the HAB and on the CPA committee.
But I guess the question is just whether that's explicitly sort of part of something of our pitch.
It could be. I'm not sure. I mean, this one is for a place, undesignated placeholder.
It's still undesignated placeholders. It's
Yeah.
just like,
You think
right?
that a bullet would help?
Maybe a bullet to say, this is something, and maybe this is something we should think about. So,
Okay.
okay, I mean, this is how sustainability is going to happen, right?
Yeah, we've certainly got a great track record in terms of the projects that we vetted. So,
I mean, they have to,
yeah.
right? It's like, so.
Emily, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, very quickly. I think the point that the housing trust can accumulate and hold funds longer is important. CPA has a tighter, I think Roger, you mentioned this to me, it has a shorter time period where projects can spend. So I think that's a huge point on this. Maybe put how much longer, because that's how, a lot of projects ask for extensions. Even for CDBGs, we see that. So I think that's a huge advantage to the trust. I'd also emphasize that any projects that the trust funds with CPA funds will be up to the CPA standards, make in compliance. I think that's something they'll be looking for.
Yes. Yes. That's kind of reassuring them that just because it's accounted for through the trust and it has these other advantages, that it's a reassurance that all of their regulatory requirements, reporting, compliance, monitoring, et cetera, will continue to be met. Good. I will add that too. Good point. Bernard.
Hi, all of the comments so far have been on very important issues. I want to raise something that may appear to be small, but I still think is important. I know that Jonathan Klein is concerned about this, so there are at least two people that think this is important. And that is I think it's the sixth line or sixth bullet. We use the term workforce housing. And I think it'd be just good practice for us not to use that term. What Jonathan notes is that many people who are lower income work multiple jobs. So to say that workforce housing, or to use the phrase workforce housing, sort of ignores that fact. Is that clear?
Well, I did, I know we've talked about that and with Jonathan as well, Bernard and yourself. I did try to thread that needle, if you're seeing on your screen here, maybe not sufficiently, by saying that much of workforce housing serves middle income households above the 80%. So leaving room for the fact that all, and workforce housing, and I put it in quotes because there's no precise definition that everybody agrees to, that it's implying that there's more to workforce housing than just the middle income.
Yeah. What about something, maybe this helps.
Yeah.
Lower middle to middle income housing. I mean, the fact that it's for people who work is kind of not really relevant to the point.
You think that let's pin this down if we can. Do you think that the ambiguity here, it might be better for the purposes of this bullet not to use the term workforce housing and just say middle income housing with incomes of 80 to 100% without?
Yeah, just take out the word workforce, and what we're talking about is affordable housing.
Yeah, and I mean, middle income, I mean, low and moderate income in our bylaws, you know, it tends to be defined as 80 and below. So if we're gonna to spot this as a category that needs to be served, it's middle income, which without the 80 to 100, a lot of people are, it's what some people call the missing middle.
Yeah,
There's no other way to make Brookline housing market rate affordable for this group.
all right.
Do you think we should take the term out?
Yeah, why don't you just say much affordable housing serves middle income households?
Yeah.
You don't have to capitalize affordable. You know, as much affordable housing serves middle income households with incomes of 80 to 100% AMI.
Okay, remove workforce. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason
I don't want to wordsmith it too much right here, but it could say much of the need for affordable housing, you know, is needed to serve, you know, households or middle income households between 80 and 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah. No,
let's not do the final wordsmithing in the
It
meeting.
implies, yeah, just leaving it, it implies there is much affordable housing, which there isn't. There isn't enough affordable housing.
Right. Okay, I will remove workforce housing, and I've got my scribbling down here, but much of the need for affordable housing serves, et cetera, over 80. I'm gonna leave affordable housing capitalized because we've often talked about lowercase, uppercase, because we're talking about deed restricted housing.
Yeah.
This is not,
Okay.
this is not NOAA naturally occurring is what we're talking about here.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on this? I will proceed to get this drafted and give it back to Emily as fast as possible. Some of what we've talked about, anything more on this right now? Some of what we've talked about here. I can get back to the, hold on a second, please. Here we go. I was gonna just because it relates somewhat indirectly, but we've been talking about it all along. A conclusion of the years-long effort to establish an initial coordination, integration, whatever you want to call it, of CPA and affordable housing trusts, where it might begin with Walnut High Phase 1 as we originally had hoped through the submission of the trust funds application on behalf of the BHA for a matched funding. So a long history there. Everybody, I think almost everybody is familiar with that. But basically there was a difference of view by two different committees, or at least our committee and the leadership of another committee, that was unable to get resolved. Bernard has been immensely helpful on this, working with me, and we asked for a determination meeting with the town administrator, the town council, Kara, Bernard, and myself, and Nancy Heller, which occurred a couple of weeks ago, and I will say I appreciated having that access. It was for over an hour. Everything was able to get put out on the table and expressed by everybody who had different opinions about policy and procedure and boards, et cetera. The end result actually was disappointing. My two hopes were that the trust fund would accounting would at least fall within the flow of funds before it eventually ended up in Walnut High Phase 1, if not directly through what we knew as an assignment, which BHA and our town council and myself and others have been talking about for some time. Bottom line on that, it's not going to happen. Not this time. The other second main objective that I had seen as this all worked its way through was that the administrative oversight would occur through the planning department under the auspices and direction of the planning director, rather than either our committee, we've never actually done that before, administering the detail once we've vetted the project, or the CPA committee, and we were hoping to see the final grant agreement with the BHA for this project to be slightly modified so that it would be clear that the CPA planner would be a counterpart with Emily under Kara's direction to implement all of the details of the project once it's approved and funded to go forward. And that always seemed a bit logical. That also, while that may happen in practice, and it should, the actual formalities of the grant agreement still leave all of the responsibilities and authorities for the detailed oversight of the CPA portion of this with the CPA committee. So the two things that we did.
Isn't that through the planning person that's assigned to the CPA? I mean, Nancy's not going to do the administrative work.
No. In reality, it still is going to occur as it has with other projects with the CPA staff person.
Right.
We were hoping that the grant agreement would accurately reflect that that was going to occur under the direction for coordination and integration purposes. Emily and Lindsay respectively would be working explicitly under the direction of the department head. That is actually what's going to happen, but the formalities of the agreement still have it that the CPA component, that the CPA planner, Lindsay, is under the direction of the CPA committee. So we got one thing corrected. Nominally, it's not going to have any effect, but the final document now does finally accurately identify the Affordable Housing Trust as the applicant for the funds. The funds aren't going through the trust, but at least we are on the board as having been the applicant. The other thing, and perhaps most importantly, there was an agreement, and this is actually added to the phase 1 grant agreement, that the way phase 1 is being done under that agreement is not a precedent, not to be considered, and will not be considered a precedent for the funding of projects involving CPA and trusts in the future. So we have actually an opening and an opportunity to try to create with the CPA committee a common agreement in the form of what I believe would eventually become an MOU. Hopefully that will reflect more of the essential features that we've been talking about for a long time here, and seeking for future funding of projects that will use affordable housing local contributions from one or both pots of money. So that's where we are at the moment, and there will be more to come on our efforts to fashion an MOU, which effectively does what we were trying to do so hard and for so long for Walnut High phase 1. It's going to be something for the future rather than for the present. So,
Yeah, hey, Roger, can I ask you something? One of the things that I kind of objected to Chaz about is, and I don't have it in front of me, but the way his summary read is that the Affordable Housing Trust would go to the CPA with suggestions for the MOU, or I guess I was a little concerned about, the Affordable Housing Trust basically having a very subservient position in terms of the design of the MOU. And has that been resolved? I haven't followed up on it.
well, that's what Chaz had briefly written as a recap of our meeting. I don't think there's been any, unless you've had any, that I have had any further conversations directly with Chaz about that. I totally agree with what you had observed, and I know you and I talked about that. And you're right. This I think should be more taking the route of trying to work with not only amongst ourselves here, but with Kara and Emily and Iwana in the planning department You know, we have a policy that we'd like to see implemented that's logical, and it's got a lot of basis for it that we've presented a number of times. And to create the MOU as an initial draft document first, and then begin to engage with the CPA committee. Frankly, we'll do our best with them. There are, I think, 9 members. Hopefully, this will resonate and will be successful. One of the underlying factors here that I think the select board and the town administrator are aware of is the CPA committee operates, unlike the Affordable Housing Trust, with its own authority running to the power of town meeting. They don't make the policy themselves or have that authority in a binding sort of way. So that my thought is that we do our best to get a reasonable MOU that will result in the proper integration of the trust funds, as so many other communities have done. But that if we strike out on that the MOU would be the basis for actually presenting an article to town meeting to consider such a policy. But that's not for now. That would be only if we didn't find a reasonable audience with the CPA committee.
Okay, so that people are a little clear on what I'm referring to, the summary by Chaz has language that says the HAB will provide a pitch for the structure of the MOU, and I think I'll raise it with Chaz again, but I mean, you know, we have to go into this as equal partners, and I think there may be some sentiment that you know, the CPA become a kind of a replacement for the Affordable Housing Trust in many ways. So,
well, there are 2 different visions here, which were only vaguely perceived a while back, but maybe it's become a little bit clearer as we've had this series of discussions. One is that this is something the town is doing locally, contributing to advancement of affordable housing. I think that Jonathan might have suggested, and I added this to what you reviewed earlier, the state has a one-stop application. You know, earlier there were many places one had to go to the state to get approvals for projects, including affordable housing, and the state in its wisdom helped make that more user-friendly with a one-stop. The concept at the town level is for affordable housing projects with all their complexity and input and preparation and the need for the town to understand that and the receiving end, that we should try to emulate a one-stop process, which would be something that the trust under the bylaw would be ideally suited to do, but subject to compliance with all the CPA funding requirements that are different than what the rest of the trust is. Yeah. So yeah, Bernard, if you're able to have that conversation, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Some of you are getting this for the first time, and some of you are probably tired of hearing it after so many years, but we're in a public meeting. Any thoughts from members or staff at this point? And I see we've got Amelia from the Housing Authority as well, who's been worked so well with us on so much of this.
Hi, Amelia. Oh,
hello.
Open discussion. It's a long running and to be continued, but
what I did want to ask before is this gonna delay is this gonna delay the process of the new stuff on Walnut High?
On Walnut High Phase 1, we don't think it will, but Amelia, if you are there and want to unmute, maybe you can shed some light on both Sean's question and the current status of your either pending or existing approval from the state.
Sure, happy to.
Welcome.
Thank you. So this won't delay our progress on the redevelopment of Walnut High Phase 1. We are waiting. We're planning on entering the state's rental round competition this winter, and very hopeful that we will get an award of both bond financing and other state funding that we would hear about in the summer of 2026. And at that point, we would be poised to do what we need to do to close the deal financially and get going with construction as soon as possible. So our goal would be to start construction in early 2027. So that's our current timeline, and we will certainly keep the HAB informed if things shift.
Amelia, have you had any discussions about the timing of, in terms of either pre-development funding or demolition of the existing properties? When you would see yourself being able to undertake those early steps and early investments?
Yes, we would, as soon as we hear from the state about the funding award, we would likely want to get going with demolition and site preparation work. And I've been coordinating with Emily and Oana a bit about the idea of using affordable housing trust funds like we did with 32 Marion before the financial closing, so that we can have a clean site once we close on the rest of the financing and get going on the upward construction as soon as possible.
Would you have the firm formal commitment from the state? Even before the closing, you would have all your
yes,
legal ducks in a row before you would be doing any of that?
That's right.
Okay, that's good to know. Yep. Any other questions or comments? I think so. Thanks, Amelia. Thanks for sticking with us for the whole meeting here. We have let's see. There's a couple of quick updates. Jonathan, did you have anything you wanted to share with us on the ADU work that you've been doing so diligently?
I'm not sure how diligently, but I do have a brief update. There is the ADU subcommittee, which is myself, Alex, Kelly Hardeback, and from the planning board,
Tom Renkus, is it?
Yeah, Tommy Renkus, thank you. Has been meeting. We've met twice. Our next meeting is on October 15th, which I think is a week from today. We are struggling a little bit with figuring out how to comply with the strictures imposed by the Attorney General and avoid some results that some people would think are too harsh for Brookline in terms of setbacks and height. I won't go into the details about that. We've had some alternate proposals from Dick Benka, which are helpful. We need to work through with him, differences of opinion. And I think the primary topic of the next meeting will be setbacks and height for ADUs and come up with one approach or another. I think the planning department has done a good job, particularly Maria, in coming up with an approach compromise, which I think makes the most sense. Personally, I don't know if the committee will agree, but it's also not clear, even if we agree on that, that the Attorney General will agree. Jonathan Simpson has actually been doing a very good job and seems to have a good relationship with them in terms of getting their comments once we have an approach. So we are on track. I had hoped we would be on track to do something sooner, but it's pretty clear now that this is going to be on track for the Springtown meeting and not before then. happy to talk to anybody else about the details, but that's where we stand.
And you'll learn if early applications are received from the building department that purport to comply with everything the state requires even before we have a warrant article in place, I think.
I'm told that they are getting inquiries on a weekly basis and they are dealing with them, and most of them are straightforward, and they're able to, in cases where our bylaw doesn't comply and the Attorney General was clear in striking provisions from our bylaw, they are proceeding in accordance with the state directions. And so it's not holding things up. There are some closer cases where they have had to refer things to town council, and that probably is slowing things down. So it will be good to get it completely cleaned up. But in the meantime, I think they are able to proceed.
Nice to get some early signals that we're going to get some real production this time.
Knock on wood, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, Roger, I have to jump off.
Okay, Bernard, thanks very much. Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.
I'll mention that there is one issue that is an issue that I have brought up before the committee, and that the committee will be discussing, that is not required by the Attorney General, that I think I've mentioned and we've discussed here in the past, which is the question of size. The state mandates a minimum size of or maximum size, I guess, of 900 square feet for ADUs. Some people, including me, think that that is too small and we should allow larger ADUs. We have talked within the committee about whether to permit larger ADUs, either as a matter of right or by special permit. And that is a conversation that is open and not yet resolved. It probably won't be on the agenda for the October 15th meeting, but will probably come up at the meeting after that. So.
Carol, did you have anything that you wanted
I had a question for Jonathan and
go ahead.
Alex and the group, but for later, which is, it would be great to get information from the building department about what kind of inquiries are getting, kind of the kind of buildings, what the things that people are wanting to do. Because it would be great to put some real flesh on this. I don't know if that's possible. If Emily, that's a question for you, but I think that would be really helpful.
It's interesting to hear that there have been some applications, because prior to
there'd been nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not sure if they would be rightly characterized as inquiries or applications, but I think it would be great. I think that's a good idea for us to ask a little more formally through the planning department to ask the building inspector if he can give us more detail about what's been coming up. Does that make sense? Is that something, Emily, you could do or ask Maria about?
Yeah, we can always ask and see what they say, the building department. I don't,
I think the building
they're
inspector
very
may not
busy.
he may not like, sending out written reports and things like that. So we can ask.
Right. And it's really just to kind of know what we're trying to really solve for, right? Because it's so theoretical. It doesn't, right? You get tied up in your own theoretical options that may not even be really what people are really trying to solve. So
I mean, like what issues are coming up in these inquiries?
right, exactly. And what are the circumstances, and right.
Yeah, I believe if he doesn't know, he's sending it to the ZBA right now. So.
Yeah, it's a good point. We have, it'll be at least a small data set and not just anecdotes that we can work with.
Yeah, sorry, to clarify, if it's not clear in our existing zoning, he's sending it to the ZBA.
Alex?
Someone from the building department joined one of our meetings, and I like your point, Carol, that we don't have to solve for problems that aren't, like for one of the, we were trying to figure out at first about parking, if we needed to require parking. And then we looked at a map of real information, and it's like the possible places that we could even choose to require, because we can't require by state law in the majority of town. And there's like a tiny little section near Putterham Library that we could. So it was like, just to have that information gave a lot of context. That we didn't need to resolve that issue.
Carol, did you have anything that you wanted to report on for the comp plan committee at this point? No? Okay, that's an easy check. We got good news from Kara, Emily knows this, that there is a detailed report updating of our 40B SHI, subsidized housing inventory, that we're credited with, where we've been floating, dancing back and forth, a little above, a little below 10. We're now significantly above 10, less than 11. I think it's what, 10.6 or 10.7, in a way that we're not vulnerable to be dropping back off like we have previously. Occupancy permits are what put us in a more firm position, less vulnerable, and we've now gotten to the point where our SHI inventory, based upon occupancy permits, not temporary comp permits or building permits, has us over the 10%. The town website has the details on this. Emily, did you want to comment further on that?
Yeah, so what put us over was the COs for 40 Center Street, which is 40 units, and then 201 Sherman, which is Pudding Stone, which was 250 units. Once we got those COs, that's what put us over 10.
And we're something like 10.6 or 10.7, and there are
10.69.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of others still in the hopper where they can move back and forth. So I guess we're good to go on that
I
one.
think the interesting thing about that, I think this group would be interested in knowing, people have different feelings about whether it's good to be over 10% or not good to be over 10%, because once we're over 10%, it limits the ability to have 40B applications, and people have different views on that. But my view is that 40B applications are a good thing. And in fact, the 429 Harvard 40B application for 40 units, of which I guess 8 would be affordable, was formally, the Pell was approved, the preliminary eligibility letter, and the application was filed a week before we hit the 10%. So that application and that project will go forward for a hearing before the ZBA under the standard 40B rules.
Jonathan, you reminded me, a quick reminder, did you have anything that you wanted to say at this point on with your other hat on, the AHOD hat?
No. Well, sure. One quick thing. I mean, I have not been, we made a presentation of that to the comp plan steering committee so that it's part of their thinking. I know it was also, presented to the select board, and they're very aware of it. I was pleased that it actually came up. There's, as Steve knows, there's a Fisher Hill advisory committee that's looking at Fisher Hill, and the planning department submitted some that is actually precedes public engagement. There's a lot of work that's been going on preceding public engagement, and the planning department, I guess, submitted some ideas and thoughts to the, as did the BHA, ideas and thoughts to the Fisher Hill committee, whatever it's actually called, and included in that the AHOD concept that we have been talking about of a 50% affordable development as one of the possibilities to consider in thinking about housing at Fisher Hill. So it's an idea, it's out there, it's in circulation. I'm not doing anything further at this point to explicitly promote it or to push it forward, but that's possible in the future.
Jonathan, just so everybody's clear, you're talking about in Fisher Hill, the town-owned Newberry College former campus.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct. The 3.4 acre Newberry site that the town owns and has a lot of decisions to make about what to use. There's going to be a lot of competition for that among very legitimate municipal uses that are very important, but also I think, people think that using some or all of that town-owned property for creating more affordable housing would also be a very good idea. So
there was some document that was released some weeks ago that looked maybe more official than it really was or should be, that talked about those uses and didn't mention housing at all. But I think that's...
Yeah, actually, Roger and Jonathan, I'm on that committee.
Right. That's why I mentioned it.
And
fill us in.
I don't recall, I don't recall everything these days, but I don't recall seeing something that included a suggestion that the sort of an AHOD concept be applied there. What I do recall at our last meeting was that the town under the town manager's kind of overall leadership guidance, had put together, the various town departments had put together kind of their wish lists for both near-term and possibly longer-term uses of the site. This is, again, prior to any substantial public engagement, and it was characterized as like just one, bit of information, one perspective of, what various town departments with some coordination by the town manager could see as opportunities for their ongoing either interim or long-term use of the site. I was a little bit taken aback by that, because I thought it was really almost like, to me, a kind of a preemptive piece of work. But it was they carefully walked it back and said it's just one bit of information that the committee should have before we bring in the broader public, process. And I know that there's, a major constituency that wants to see the idea of a an open air pool for the town. That's one possible site location. Obviously, there's housing opportunities. So, but I had not seen anything about an AHOD approach on that site. So I don't know where you saw it. Okay. I know we're probably running late, but one thing I wanted to mention in terms of our meeting the 10%, I don't know where I just saw this. I could swear I saw this today. I saw like a one-line thing that said the state was considering dropping market rate units in 40B, I assume in 40B projects, from what they consider the subsidized housing inventory. I know that we as a town would like to get to a 10% inventory of truly affordable housing, which, because 40B in rental properties, all the units count, even if they're luxury, the 75% of the units that are luxury units, they don't count if they're condos. And I don't know where I saw this, but does anyone else know where this comment came from? The state considering?
Well, if they ever do that, Steve, they better say the state, we're announcing that we're going to do it the Brookline's way.
Either that or grandfathering what's, done is done, but like changing it going, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. Jonathan, you put your hand up. Do you know something about that?
Yeah, I think it's something that housing advocates have been talking about because of concern that in rental projects, market rate units are counted as, quote, affordable units for purposes of the 10%. That was an administrative decision that was made in creating the 40B regulations, they're now administered by EHLC, but 30 or 40 years ago to encourage more rental housing.
Yeah, you encourage rental rather than condos.
At the state level are rethinking it, and I believe it appeared possibly as a recommendation of the Governor's Commission on Housing that issued a report, 6 or 9 months ago. I have not heard it discussed as a serious possibility, but ideas like this come up and people talk about them and they start to take hold. And so I think it's something that you will see, housing advocates perhaps talking about and pushing as sort of the next step, since getting to 10% clearly has not solved the Commonwealth's, housing problem as it's defined now.
Well, when the state got our most recent housing production plan, we talked with Judy because the state had no idea or no concept at that point that things could be counted in an alternative way, and we were going to put that in an annex that went to the select board but didn't go to the state because we didn't want to confuse them. But Judy said, no, let's send it up to the state anyway. So the state has the counting only real housing as the way we're doing it. We only have one more thing, which is resources. Ioana, and then I think we'll be all finished. Ioana, you're muted. I used the figure 9 million before a little loosely, so hopefully you won't prove me wrong.
No, I'm not going to prove you wrong. Emily, could you pull that up for me, please?
Yes. Give me 1 minute.
Roger, do we also have the BCDC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's my next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There you are, Roger. And there it is, 9,025,085. That excludes the 454 for 454 for encumbrances on line 8. Emily, you see on line 8, there's 454 in encumbrances. We had more than that because we had 250,000 that we were holding out for 108 Center Street, but it has been so long. I sent them an email saying, do you need this? Do you need these funds or not? Should we still hold them? They sent me back an email to say no. So we were able to put those funds back in as funds that are available. Scroll down a little bit, Emily. This number here, the 1.5,250,85, that is truly not been promised, committed anywhere. This is the fund. These are the funds that we actually have that are not committed. Now, Roger, there's one thing I'm still trying to understand, and this is why I did not include it. For the 3.7 with BHA, I am not sure how to put that. If we're at the point where it is definitely, we're definitely sure it belongs to the, to us, or do we still have to wait for it to be ironed out?
So well, the essence is ironed out, but the formalities will require the select board to vote.
Okay.
Because they voted to raise it up to 7.5 million for the reasons we all know, and
Yes.
now they will need to vote now that the grant agreement has been fully executed by the town and BHA. It only remains, it's a formality, the select board needs to vote to approve the reduction.
Okay.
Back, and that will release 3.75 million.
Right. So when that is done, then I will include it in the numbers here. So right now, what we have is funds that's uncommitted and everything is 1.5 million dollars. That number there, 1,525,85. Down below, these are some community development. Could you move up? Yes, thank you. These are some community development block grant funds that we have that are allotted to affordable housing that we may use also. And so that would, and some home funds that are out there. Those are prior funds. They're still good. We're having a lot of trouble with CDBG in the new year here. Things are not settled. So, but this has nothing to do with that. If you add those funds in, we have 2.6, 2,606,157. I'm sorry. So that's where we are at this time. If you need to know about any line item here, we do have some tabs. I could click on them so you can see how we come up with these figures. Any questions?
Thanks, Ioana. Jonathan has his hand raised.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a question, it's just a comment. So in reality,
yes,
if you assume that the 3.75 is no longer needs to be encumbered, that
yes,
the real balance is the 2 million plus the 3.75. So it's about,
yes,
5.75 is, the
unencumbered funds.
So I will express my desire that I hope we get some applications and find some uses for that money. I know some of it we want to keep in reserve because there's Walnut High phase 2, but they haven't even gotten started on phase 1 yet. So it would be good for us to find other have other applicants come forward, who can put this money to work. That's
agreed.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
When we met with the meeting I referenced, when we were with a group meeting with Chaz, he emphasized perhaps what we already know. Don't expect any more gushers coming out of free cash. We're going to get little or nothing from that spigot going forward. So anyway, thanks, Ioana.
Most welcome.
Now, did you reminder? Alex mentioned VCD. Yes.
Yeah, the BCDC. Now I went and saw them today, and Deborah sent a letter. It was too late to post it. So to date, they have spent $105,000. They had 103 applications, and they funded 40 folks. The The only thing is, all of this happened, they used the CPA funding first. So they haven't used our funding yet for this. Part of the problem, she says, I spoke with her, and she had 103 applications and only 40 because some people don't come back to finish their applications. Some people just didn't qualify. It's just some people go halfway and they don't finish. So she says she'll keep them on file for about 60 days. If they doesn't, then she'll discard their application and move to the next person. One of the problems that she's running into in helping these folks is that they're not coming back for the last piece that they actually signed up for, which is the individualized service plan. This plan is supposed to help them sit down and help them not to get back into the same situation. And she says because of work schedules and all this stuff, they some of them have not been able to come back. But people do come back later and say, oh, I need some more help. But if we had set a limit of 5,000 per person, and if they're at that limit and they haven't come back for the plan, the service plan that they should come back to, it's a little difficult for them to kind of, make it all happen. One of the other things that she's trying to do is collaborate with the community mental health and also with the resident services resiliency program that CDBG funds a part of it, but the state funds a lot of it in the BHA that Danielle Mendola runs. That program helps them, teach them how to save, teach them how to help them with resumes if they have to do that, but just life skills. It works with them on that. So hopefully they'll not get back in a position of not. But a lot of them are saying they don't have the time. They make time. They don't have the time to get to these programs. And in that way, it's hard to help them because you can only give money once. You can't keep paying the rent all the time. So she's having some challenges. And the other thing with the intake of sitting with these folks, going through the application and everything, she says it's been a little difficult because it's taking more time than they had anticipated that this program would have taken. So they're working, but it's a little bit challenging, and they're going through some challenges. So that's the major thing about. But she's not giving up. They're not giving up. They're still going to keep trying finding ways to help them. They say they sometimes stay very late so that people can come back when they're supposed to do their individualized service plan, just to accommodate them, but they can't always do it. So but they're trying.
They need to make a finding that the $5,000 limit is going to solve the problem and not just lead to more requests for draws in the future, right? That's part of the criteria.
Right. The 5,000 is the maximum we had said they could give each person.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody that reaches that point, they're gonna have a record, because I hear two very different kinds of things that could cause the fallout. One is that the applicant just doesn't complete the process.
Right.
Or the other would be that they complete the process up to the point where the BCDC finds that they don't feel that it's going to solve an emergency problem, and so
sometimes, yes.
At least they've helped 40 households so far, though.
Yes, they have, and that comes up to 105,000. And they've used CPA funds. They'll be using our funds later, but they haven't done that yet. I just spoke with them today on that to just be sure there's something I can tell you guys that is happening. I will try to have something written for you guys if you want to, for the next meeting in December, so that you can actually see what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I see Bill listening intently here. I know from our visit at lunch, he's had a fair amount of exposure to the state's version of this. What's it called? The RAFT program. And I think he's going to be interested in seeing what our experience, how it unfolds here relative to his exposure to the same kind of a service. at
Yeah.
the state level. It's 7 o'clock. We've been our 2 hours. We've covered a lot of ground, and unless there's any other things that we missed, I'll call for an adjournment and see you all the first Wednesday of November.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, everyone. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Someone second.